Day Baba, dear friends, and happy Easter. Well, now it's afternoon. Uh, we're looking forward to a nice time with Charles, uh, and so grateful that you and Christopher are joining us. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Betty, and happy Easter to everyone. It's wonderful to be with you. Oops, I gotta get my technology correct here. Okay, here we go. Can everyone hear everything okay? Good.
Good here.
Good. Well, in thinking about what to share on Easter, it's always been a special day in my life growing up, and I'm sure for many of you it was as well. For Elizabeth, it was particularly special because, it turned out to be, she had forgotten this for many years, but it turned out to be that it was an Easter Sunday or an Easter visit to her father in the 1930s when she saw the center, or what was to become the center, for the first time, and thought the land was so beautiful. In fact, she was so touched by what she saw that she wrote a letter to Norina about the beauty of the land and the lakes and the ocean. And then she forgot about it. And of course, then after Baba sent them back to the United States in 1941 to look for such a place, she still didn't think of it until another Easter, when she and Norina came down to Myrtle Beach and visited Elizabeth's family, her father and mother, and there she saw the land again. And that's when they knew that it was the place Baba wanted them to find. And it became Meher Spiritual Center. So Easter's always had a special meaning in relation to the story of the center. And Elizabeth would remember that every year, every Easter. And what is Easter, but the celebration of the Christ and the miracle of divine love, the miracle of his love. And thinking about that, it led me to remember this letter that Baba wrote to Nadine Tolstoy in 1937, in July 1937. It was written between the time the Nasik ashram closed and she left India, and when she returned to join the ashram on Meherabad ashram on the hill. So between that time, they corresponded, and one of Baba's letters to Nadine, he writes, "Remember that I am always with you and in you, and that there is nothing in this universe which matters excepting me. There is no other reality. I know that you are wholly mine, and how deeply you love me. And I also, through this miracle of love, am yours." I'll read that again. So beautiful. Baba said to Nadine, wrote to Nadine, "Remember that I am always with you and in you, and that there is nothing in this universe which matters excepting me. There is no other reality. I know that you are wholly mine, and how deeply you love me. And I also, through this miracle of love, am yours." Rumi celebrates the beloved's miracle of love in this ghazal that I wanted to share with you. Let love, the water of life, flow through our veins. Let a love-drunk mirror steeped in the wine of dawn translate night. You who pour the wine, put the cup of oneness in my hand and let me drink from it until I can't imagine separation. Love, you are the archer My mind is your prey. Carry my heart and make my existence your bullseye. The instant the beloved lifts his veil, however fleetingly, the lover recognizes the one who has always dwelt within the heart. My Lord, exclaims Thomas Burton, you have heard the cry of my heart because it was you who cried out within my heart. And when this miracle of love occurs, the world of the lover is turned upside down, or perhaps right side up, and transforms life completely. Here's how Rumi's son, Sultan Balad, describes his father's first glimpse of his beloved Shams of Tabriz. Rumi saw the veil pulled from his face and fell in love with him. So when Rumi and Shams encountered one another, they embraced, they bowed down over and over again to each other, they caressed in such an ecstatic state that onlookers could not tell lover from beloved. Playing on the name Shams, which means sun in Arabic, Rumi says, I already had a sweet image of you in my heart when at that dawn I first truly felt the sun. Rumi echoes what I and many lovers of beloved Baba have experienced in that moment of recognition. In my life, it's been a great blessing, one of the greatest blessings, that I've had opportunities to recall the story of meeting Baba, sharing the story of meeting Baba many, many times. And so I won't need to retell it now. Instead, I wanted to share a little story within that story. And this happened more than 50 years ago at Harvard Divinity School. I was invited, and I don't remember why, but I was invited to give a talk to some of the students and faculty. Maybe they did this for students regularly, I don't know, and said, would you like to share your spiritual life or experience? I don't remember. I just was new to the divinity school, and I was invited to give the talk. And at that time, I was still new to speaking about Baba in front of other people, especially people who knew nothing or little about Baba. And naturally, as you can imagine, I was quite nervous, especially since, Harvard was a little daunting and overwhelming, and I hadn't quite gotten my bearings and what it meant to be there. So I thought, well, what to say? And I decided, well, I'll just start at the beginning, and I'll tell them the story of meeting Meher Baba for the first time. And of course, at that time, this would be 1971 or so. At that time, it had not been very long. It was not long after I actually had met Baba in 1958. So, I mean, 12 years? Anyway, I was nervous and anxious, but I sat in front of this crowd of students and faculty and in this beautiful room at Harvard Divinity School, and I told the story. And as you know, my story involves the Lagoon Cabin at Mayer Center, and waiting in line, and entering this little cabin. So I described to them. And as I began to really enter into the story myself, the audience just disappears. I mean, I just didn't even think of them. I began to get lost in describing Baba's face, his beautiful smile, his gestures. I mentioned that he was silent, but I told him, I said, at the time I didn't think of him as being silent. I must have known on some level, but it didn't seem as though he were silent, or that he was wearing clothes that were unusual, or in fact, nothing seemed unfamiliar to me. And it all seemed natural, as though, yes, this is it. This is the way it's supposed to be. It was nothing. And this was, of course, the experience of an 8-year-old child, for whom one would think everything would be unusual or strange or new, but nothing was. And I got lost in telling them that, because even to this day, it is so overwhelming to me that that was the experience, that so deep was the familiarity of being in his presence, that nothing seemed unfamiliar, nothing. Nor was there anyone else in the room. Well, I knew there were, I guess. I must have in some part of my mind. But I could not tell you then, nor now, nor even in 58, who they were. Where was my mother? Was Elizabeth there? And of course, I now know she was. Was there Erich? Well, I didn't know Erich, but I didn't notice him. Did he speak? He must have. You know, he must have said things, because Baba would, you know, we know he gestured and we know he was interpreted, but none of that was apparent to me. So complete, in other words, was the familiar feeling, the recognition that nothing seemed new or unnatural or different. And later, when I thought of him being silent, I thought, how is that so? And then I had to remember that he gestured. And I just, in front of these people, and again, I lost sense of where I was, and giving this, telling this story, and tears came out of my eyes. Tears, because it was recalling the recognition. Every one of you listening has this story, same story. I'm sure of it. Some of these stories I've heard from many of you, and of course from many others who love Baba over the years. These are the stories of recognition that we share. We share. Because he allows us to recognize, again, what we've known many times before in those moments. Recognition. Nothing unusual about him at all. Nothing. And I had the presence of mind to tell them. I don't know if they understood what I was talking about, but I had the presence of mind to tell them that Baba asked me a question. And it turned out to be the only question, I think this is right, the only question Baba ever asked me. Isn't that remarkable? The only question he ever asked me. I don't remember ever asking him a question at all. But he asked me this one. And it was the question, as many of you have heard me say so many times, it was the question on eye level with me. He's sitting, me standing next to him. He said, he looked in my eyes and he said, and I heard him say this, even though he must have gestured it. He said, would you like to go where I live? And I didn't have any thought about it. My mind was empty. I didn't know. I mean, India, I think, popped in there because I knew that he was from India. But whatever it was, my mind had no answer, but my heart immediately said, yes, Bob, yes. And Baba, he beamed. He was so happy, as though I had given him something, as though I had given him an answer that he had not prompted within. It was though it was my answer, which it wasn't. And he beamed. He was so happy. And then he said, he made this gesture, of certainty. And he said, you will, like that. And I have come to realize over all the years now, some whatever, 60 years later, I don't know how many years is it now, 6 decades, that that's the only question and answer that I need for my life and for all my lifetimes. That's only one. It's the only thing one wants with Baba, is to be with him wherever he is. And I told them something that was very deeply impressed on me that day, and that I had no words for. And then later I gave it words, like you do when you try to reclaim a memory or put into words something that you don't know quite how to express. Anyway, I remember the feeling, though, and the feeling was, this is someone whose presence I never want to leave. I just wanted to stay there in that room. I mean, I couldn't say that. I didn't know how to say that, but I felt it so deeply. And I had never felt like that before about anything. And of course, at some moment, our time was up and we did leave. But on this day at Harvard, however, some insight came from somebody who was in the audience, because I was walking out of the room and, people were nice, I guess. I don't know what they said, polite, they, I mean, they probably didn't know what to make of most of it. But as the crowd dispersed, a fellow student came up to me and she said, she looked at me and she said, it feels like you have never left that cabin. And at that moment, I had no idea. Did she mean that was a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, was it something she thought was odd, or did she think it was good? But it felt so true when she said that. It felt so true. And it feels just as true now, right now. Because I don't think I ever have left that cabin. From the first time I laid eyes on Baba until this present moment, Baba is the only one whose presence I never want to leave. Whoever else he is or isn't, and my mind can't grasp it fully as much as I try. That is never changed. So I don't know that I ever did leave that lagoon cabin. And that led me to remember the story of Peter, which I think I've told actually recently, but you don't mind. It's such a sweet story if I have. Um, Christopher brought this to my attention. I don't know, some months ago or something, weeks ago. We sometimes read something from one of the books about Baba or from Baba at breakfast, and something provoked him to read me this story, which I had really, if I knew it, I'd forgotten it. And I won't tell the whole story, but it's very simple, really. Actually, it's more a vignette than a story. But the point of it is that Baba in Mondley Hall, and this would be, I guess in the 60s, Baba's in Mondley Hall. Mani is in the building just across from Mondley Hall, the back of Mondley Hall, where she can see the back doors, and take note of what's happening. She's in that building working on the family letters, typing, And when Baba wants her, he rings a little bell, and she knows that she should run. So one day he rings the little bell, and she runs into Mondley Hall. Baba calls her immediately. And there's Baba in the chair, and there's Peter, the Baba's beloved Cocker Spaniel. Well, really also Mani's beloved Cocker Spaniel, because Mani had a special relationship with Peter and trained him and taught him tricks. But he was beloved to all of them. But Baba had a special place in his heart for Peter. And there was Peter lying at Baba's feet, snoring loudly. And here's Baba with the men doing whatever Baba's work, and here's Peter down there at his feet snoring loudly. We've heard the dog snore, and it can be pretty loud. And Mani says, "Oh, Baba, oh." But Baba said to Mani when she came in, he said, "Look at that. Just look at Peter. Listen to that." And she said, "Oh, Baba, should I take him out?" Thinking maybe he was disturbing Baba. And Baba said, "Oh, no, leave the rascal be." And then Mani left. He just wanted her to see it. A few days later, the bell rings again. And she, again, rushes in, because immediately she goes when Baba calls. And there is Peter again, lying at the feet of Baba. And this time, his feet are moving. If you've had dogs, you know this. You see them like their feet are moving, like they're running, and he's twitching and he's moving. Yeah, our dog Jimmy does this a lot. And Baba says to Mani, "Look at Peter. He's dreaming." Baba says he thinks he's being chased by wolves, or he's running, chasing birds or rabbits, going over the mountains, across rivers, through deserts, all this. And yet he's safe and sound at my feet. He's not doing any of these things. While he thinks he's doing all that, he's safe and sound at my feet. And Mani remembered that. It's one of those moments when Baba taught them something special about how he works and our life with him. Because it's so true that in the same way, we live our busy lives, and we travel the world, we experience joy and suffering, we cry out to Baba and longing and despair, but all the while we remain safe and sound at his feet. We are dreaming. We are dreaming the dream. And no matter what we go through, we are safe and sound at his feet. And when we wake up, that's where we are. Just remember this much, Baba told the Prim Ashram boys one day. All this is a dream. Only God is real, and God is love. Hence, create love. All this is a dream. Only God is real, and God is love. Hence, create love. It is a miracle of love that throughout our dream, even when we get lost in the dream, Baba finds us, reveals himself to us, and lets us know that we belong to him and he belongs to us. And that led to me thinking I'd like to share a story that can stand in for countless other stories of Baba finding his lover, which is what he does. Or at least that's how we experience. He finds his lover, no matter where, no matter how, some way, somehow, he finds, it's like that song, Around the World in 80 Days. I traveled far, but somewhere, somehow, he finds us. He finds us. And this story I chose is a short, again, kind of a vignette that was recorded by Jean Adriel in her book, The Avatar. And it's the story of Norina Machabelli and her first meeting with Baba. And of course, we know that Norina had a long history with Baba. We know because that's what he told her later. And, but of course, at that time, she had no idea. Baba found her. And it was through Jean Adriel, that was the link. And when Jean first told Norina something about Meher Baba, because Jean had just heard of him and she was very excited and she was beginning to read about him, and she discovered he was coming to America, and she was filled with all this enthusiasm and excitement. So she wanted to tell her friend Norina, and so she did. And Norina expressed great disdain at this news. She said, now, this is Jean quoting Norina, "Who is this master at whose feet you would worship? How can you worship at the feet of any man, even though he calls himself a master? Women like ourselves, who have had such deep inner experiences, need no man to show us the way to God. How can you allow yourself to be drawn into such foolishness?" And that's how Jean describes Norina's reaction to hearing about Meher Baba. So Jean, taken aback, Jean began to describe, what she had read already. She didn't know Baba, but she had read all these stories of people meeting him. And she mentions that, Norina, when these people meet Baba, a lot of them say that they just burst out weeping when they meet him. Norina laughingly replied, dismissive and laughing, she replied, "Well, when your master arrives, I must meet him. I too would like to weep." So some days later, when Norina arrived at Harmon on the Hudson to meet Baba, because she did go to meet him, Jean, when she arrived, she hadn't even met Baba. When she just arrived at Harmon, Jean looked at Norina and she saw a completely changed person. The person she had just talked to about Baba now was this quiet, withdrawn, tearful person. And Jean asked, "What had happened? What's happened to you?" And Norina told her, she said, "Well, You know, ever since Baba's feet has touched the shores of America, I've done nothing but weep. She couldn't stop weeping. She had to cancel all her social engagements because she couldn't stop weeping. And then after that exchange with Jean, her turn came and she entered the room to meet Baba. And a short time later, Narina left the room, weeping as though her heart were breaking from ecstasy. She could barely walk. She had to lean on the banister to walk the stairs. She had to be assisted, and people had to come and take her to a room so that she could lie down. And you know that every hour for the rest of that day, every hour on the hour, Baba would come to the room where they took her to give her his comfort, his healing love. Now, that is the miracle of love. As we all know so well, we do not find the beloved. The beloved finds us. Just as Shams found Rumi, Baba found Narina, Baba found me, Baba found you, so the beloved finds each of his lovers. Rumi says, "You found me once again, you thief of heart. In drunken ecstasy, you searched the bazaar and found me. Why do I run when no one can escape you? Why hide when you found me 100 times? I thought I could lose you in a crowd of people, but you find me even in the crowds of secrets, even behind my own masks. What a blessing to be sought and found by your eyes. What luck to be caught in your twists and turns. Like a deer fleeing a lion, I ran through the desert. Deep in the mountains, you found me. Wounded, I shed my blood on every path. You followed the drops and found me. The moment you found me, you gave me a cup brimming with love's wine, heavy enough to match the weight on my soul. Every sip lightened it, every sip a balm. I drank till empty. My soul took flight. I have no mind, no ear, no tongue today. The source of thought and word found me." So let me go back where I started with Baba's letter to Nadine in 1937. And you remember Baba wrote, "Remember, I am always with you and in you, and there is nothing in this universe which matters excepting me. There is no other reality. I know that you are wholly mine and how deeply you love me. And I also, through this miracle of love, am yours." Now, after receiving that letter, Nadine spent time in Baba's ashram in Meherabad. Then in 1941, as you know, she and Norina and Elizabeth were sent back to the United States to do his work. And what was her work? What was Nadine's work? I mean, we know Nadine and Elizabeth, Norina and Elizabeth were, given the task of finding his home in the West, finding his home when he had already found, but that's the game Bob is, that's how he works. They had to find what he had found. And what was her work? What was Nadine's work? And Baba, in a cable, put it this way. He said, Nadine, your work for me is life's surrender. Your work is, Nadine's work is life's surrender. Now, what did Baba mean? Well, perhaps it became apparent in some way, or at least Christopher and I feel so, because by 1944, Nadine was suffering from symptoms of ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, which is, of course, a progressive neurodegenerative disease that affects nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord. It results in, as you know, in loss of muscle control. And as this fatal condition progresses, people gradually lose their ability to eat, to speak, to move, to breathe. Well, how did Nadine respond? She responded by doing as Baba asked, working for him through life's surrender. Adele, many of you knew Adele Walken. Adele was nursing Nadine during this illness, and she described this surrender with these words. During the course of her illness, Adele remembers, the intensity of her pure love showed itself in daily life. Some friends who came with the intention to console her found themselves, as I did, uplifted by an atmosphere of pure, vibrant life, an atmosphere benevolent and harmonious in effect. One felt disarmed. Who was there to console in the face of such goodwill and cheer? Her visitors would generally be greeted by the beautiful smile with glowing eyes, and she never lost her sense of humor. As the disease progressed, Nadine gradually lost control of her body, including her ability to speak. In fact, for a time, she used an alphabet board, much like Baba's, to communicate. And from her sickbed, Nadine expressed this great longing to see Baba in physical form one last time, holding out that she would see him, because he was supposed to come at any time in the 1940s. And that was the typical of Baba. That was the whole framing of their work, getting the center ready. It always was this, Baba's going to come, so we must get it ready, and so forth. And of course, then that would change and be postponed, and travel couldn't be had. It was the war and all of those things. So the expectation was always there. Baba always wanted, it seems to me at least, for his lovers to expect him at any moment. That he would just expect him, because he may appear. So Nadine, from her deathbed or her sickbed, she would send these messages to Baba, come soon, knowing that her time was limited. But in the last months, Nadine began to realize she would not see Baba again in human form. And Adele recalls that in Adele's view, her experience of Nadine, that's when Nadine made her final surrender and accepted wholeheartedly his will. That's the most difficult of all, or was the most difficult of all for Nadine, to surrender that great longing, just to be in his physical presence once more. Baba, however, for his part, kept his promise to be with her always. He came to her little room in New York and gave her comfort. In a letter to Baba, Nadine gives thanks to Baba for the gift of his internal presence. She writes, I am so endlessly, profoundly grateful to you, beloved Baba, for all you have done to me since I suddenly collapsed. Only you knew how much I needed your help, particularly as to keep the center within was the most important and helpful thing in my distress and sleepless nights and anxiety. What I would not do and give to have you right here, to see you again, to fall at your feet as a thirsty wanderer to drink from the source. So you came in spirit and heart, helping all along, undoing the tangle, getting after the big thorn. She wrote in caps, so you came in spirit and heart. A few months before Nadine went to Baba, she received a letter from Margaret Krask with, I think this is the final message from Baba before she left her body. And Margaret Krask, who Baba had asked to keep in touch with Nadine regularly, Margaret wrote this. She said, I snatched an opportunity to tell Baba I was writing to you. And he said, tell her I love her. Margaret writes, it sounded so beautiful when spelt on the board, not give her my love, but tell her I love her. We all felt so happy for you that he should express it in such a lovely, simple way. And I know it is all you really want. And then when Nadine passed away, went to Baba on April 14th, 1946, Baba cabled, Nadine is now living in me, with me, and for me more than ever. Through beloved Baba's miracle of love, he is always with his lovers, presence in absence, in spirit and in heart. And through the miracle of love, he is here with us now. Let Rumi have the last word. Spring is here. Fragrant, musky spring is here. The beloved is here. The soul of souls is here. The one who welcomes everyone is here. Wine is here. The wine of dawn is here. Wine that floods the soul with joy is here. The cupbearer fills everyone's cup. Clarity is here. Stones in the river pulse with sunlight. The cure is here. The cure for every ill is here. The friend who soothes the ache is here. The healer is here. The healer who's felt every shade of feeling is here. Dance is here. The whirling dance is here. The eternal bond and glorious breeze are here. Poppies, basil, and tulips' stunning eyes are here. One is here. One who makes someone of no one is here. The bright moon that clears the haze is here. The heart stirring all hearts to laughter is here. The beloved is here. The soul of souls is here and never left. It's our eyes that come and go. Be silent now. Let silence speak. Surrender the syllables you count on your fingers. The river of countless messages is here. J. Baba.
Charles, because Baba has brought you here today to be with us. Mayor Baba is here today with us, and we are all together in the lagoon cabin that you have never left. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Charles.
That was beautiful, Charles.
Thank you, Betty.
I wonder
Forever.
So if anybody would like to comment, you could raise your hand. That would be great. You know, Charles, that poem reminds me of a Hafiz. I'm just trying to find it. It's so similar. It'd be okay. I'd like to read it, but I have to find it. So, Wendy.
Wait a minute. Oh, there we go. Best Easter present ever. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Baba, I guess I should say.
Let's see. That was just perfect. Easter message. Golly, spring for all cultures. It's so important. Let's see. I'm getting there. All right. Let's see. April. Okay. So if it's okay, I'll just read it. It's part 1 of Ode 7. It's Ode to Spring. Hafiz. Heart, have you heard the news? The spring has, oh dear, has come back. Have you heard? With little green shoot and little pink bud and the little new hatched bird and the rose, yes, the rose. Nightingale, have you heard the news? The rose has come back. And the green and the blue and everything is as new as the dew. New nightingale, new rose, wind of the east, flower-footed breeze. Oh, take my love to the budding trees, to the cypress, take it, and take it too to the tender nurslings of meadows and leaves. To the basil, take it, messenger breeze, and I send it, my love, to you. So glad am I of the newfound sun. I believe I could kiss the tavern door, why I could sweep the tavern floor with the lashes of my eyes. Oh, April skies, the winter's done. Oh, April skies, the spring's begun and honey humming summer's coming. Close behind. Oh, April skies, even the tavern girl is kind. Hafiz, remember well how short is spring, and drain the good days deep ere they depart. Thou nightingale that shall forever sing, rose of thine son, thine rose of thine own imperishable art. Sounds awfully similar.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, not seeing hands. I hope you had a wonderful Easter morning, Charles and Christopher. And
Good.
a lot of us did here. We listened to music.
Yes, I feel overwhelmed with gratitude, you know, it's because in thinking about sharing this Easter, I remembered how often Baba would say that he is, you know, as the avatar of the age, he's for everyone. And he comes to give a spiritual push, you know, to everyone, change in consciousness, all the things that are shrouded in mystery, because only only he knows what that work is, but maybe we can glimpse it a little. But then he says, I am also for the few. And sometimes I also, you know, he, in the highest of the high, he underscores that he's for the few. He's for everyone as the avatar. But as the beloved, he's for the few. Means, you know, there are some whose destiny it is, not a better or worse destiny, it just is, to be lover of the beloved, like Rumi was to Shams. And you know, it struck me in rereading that story of Rumi and Shams coming together. Most of the people around Rumi did not like Shams. And felt he was a threat because Rumi was their teacher, their leader. And here comes Shams, and Rumi goes into this altered state and makes Shams the center of attention of his life and has everyone listen to Shams. And they did not like it. They didn't see what Rumi saw because Shams didn't show them. Actually, he did show Rumi's son, one of his sons, a glimpse, and he knew. So lovers are those that he shows, that glimpse, that recognition, that long story he's had with those particular souls that he calls to be his lovers. So I feel so grateful to be a lover. And I know you do too.
Charles Mahu has a hand up.
Yes.
Yes, I'm unmuted. Jay Baba, I'm happy to be here and happy to see you, Charles. And definitely that's Baba's treat on Easter Day, no doubt. I like to ask you a question about your personal experience, if it's okay. Of course, it's all related to Baba's love, but yeah. So, you know, as you mentioned through your talk about different disciples, women disciples of Baba, and their relationship with him and his relationship with them. You know, in these courses recently, just was reading, and it's about the inner circle of the avatar. Baba explains, and first he talks about the 14, 12, and the 2 women, and then the 120, 10 around 12 of 10. And Baba says, before the avatar descends, he's already chosen these people that they come to meet him or they come to close contact and so forth. And this has a lot to do with past connection. Baba uses past connection that establishes that link, internal link. And then when he comes, one by one, they come to meet him. And I'm sure you're one of them, especially your family, your mother, and, no doubt on that. And I always believed the one who met him in person, he really engraved that love in their heart. I mean, how can you forget your meeting with the God-man? So now my question comes, that during this time, let's say from 1958 and on, because I know you also met him in 1958, did you do anything, a lot effort, I would say, to maintain this love and connection to that intensity? Or you feel that it was all Baba who kept that going? Of course, it constantly works in our consciousness. So I like to know the effort on your part and, of course, his grace. Thank you.
Of course, that's a lovely, lovely question. Well, first, let me say about the circles and so forth. I know nothing about it. I'll just say that I'm not being modest about that. I actually don't know anything about it, except I know what he says. And as you say, let me close this door because I'm hearing myself. As you say, Baba, these connections are through many, many lifetimes. And all of us, in my view, would not feel that we are lovers of the beloved as Meher Baba if it weren't for that long history. And no one is further or closer. Now you say, well, there's the circle and the 2 women and then the so forth and so on. Baba gives all that. But really, that's all about his work, right? And he says, but, yes, my eyes might have a different use than my hands or my feet, but it's all the same. It's all the same. We may have a particular role now, and when he comes again, a different one. Baba says it doesn't matter. I remember Erich taking me aside one time, and maybe he did the same for you, and, telling me about what it was like when he first came to the ashram. And he was a young fellow, 1938, 21 or something, yeah. And actually, his anniversary is the same as mine. May 21st, 1938. Mine was May 21st, 1958. So we talked about that, this coming and being there. And he said, well, first thing Baba wanted to say, after I'd been there a few weeks, Baba calls me and he says, just me privately. He says, what are they saying, these people? Means all the residents, the Mandali and all that. Yeah. What are they? Well, Baba, naturally they're talking about the various spiritual things and being with you and all that. And Baba says they're talking about liberation. Will I give them liberation? Yeah, Baba, yeah, it comes up, I hear it. And Baba says, pay no attention. Pay no attention. That's nothing, Baba says. All that matters is you're with me. Don't think about anything else. It's destiny. Not everyone wants to be the lover. They have other roles to play. They're not better or worse roles, but they are different. So yeah, I mean, yes, it's all mapped out from the beginningless beginning, our role. Why? Because we do not exist. So we think we exist, which gets to the rest of your lovely question. We think we are drawing closer. We are trying to remember him. We are, you know, trying to grow in our love for him. When in reality, we are doing nothing. Why are we doing nothing? Because we are not, and he alone is. I am not. Or as Rumi says, when I am not. When I am not, I am. So we are not. But of course, we don't live that way. We live as though we are. What's our duty, you know, to do that, to, you know, go through and think and try to remember Baba and all that. But we also, Baba says, keep in the back of your mind, you do nothing. You're mine. You were mine, you are mine, you will be mine. What is there to do? But do it, now do it. That's how it is. Do it. Why? Because that's the drama of it, of love. That's the drama of love. It isn't that we're doing anything. It's that we are living out the love story that in some ineffable way means God is discovering God. Baba is discovering Baba. Baba is loving Baba. And so we play our part, but we actually don't have a part to play because we are not. We have no part to play, but we have a part to play. It's the same. It's not contradictory. It's just hard for the mind to grasp. So Baba says, you can't live as though you do nothing. You with that thought all the time, I do nothing. You have to, you know, live your life and be natural and be in the world and all that. But Baba says, do one thing. Always keep in the back of your mind, you do nothing. We are lovers. So after, and this is maybe a little, what do you say, over the top, but really speaking, how I feel, this is just my own little way of putting it, it may not be true, but what I feel is, you know, lovers of the beloved, everything's already taken care of. Why does Baba say don't worry? Because there is literally nothing to worry about. Oh, but what if we do this and then this happens and then we create this samskara and then this happens and then our karma is all messed up. And Baba says that's not for you. I gave that, yeah, and people, it helps people and all that, and people can figure out, you know, the impressions and this and that. Baba says, but that's not for you. You are my lover. Therefore, I'm everything is mine. You remember me, yes, that you do that because you love me, you remember me. And if you really love me, do this, serve other people, love other people, even at the cost of your own happiness, do that. Make others happy. That's loving me. You want to love me? You can, yeah. So if you say, yes, Bob, I want to love you. I want to figure out my sanskaras. Baba says, no, no, that's my job. Why are you doing my job? Your job is to make other people happy. Really, Baba? That's it? Yes, that's it. Baba says, if you love me, that is to love me. Okay. So what do we do? And then our mind says, well, you know, that's not good enough. I have to have something complicated to do. I have to figure out my destiny. I have to, what about this? I have to have something to worry about. And Baba says, Baba says, that's my only concern is that you do that. Why? Because that makes you unhappy. It doesn't change anything. Your worry won't change anything, but just makes you unhappy. So Baba says, why not be happy? So that's how I feel. I don't know. I mean, I know only this much. I mean, and I know it. I just intuitively feel it. We'll be with him. We were with him. We'll be with him again and again and again until we are no more. But there's nothing else to do.
Charles,
Yes.
Wendy is here, and she asked me, she said, should I sing my song? And I said, absolutely. So she had a song come to her. So now you'll get to hear it. Wendy, where are you?
Sorry, I don't know what happened. I got dropped. The computer just said
Okay.
goodbye.
It's fine.
I'm good now. Anyway, this is my one and only song. Baba gave it to me. It was either my first or second trip. I can't remember which. I'll have to check my diaries.
I'm going to
And
try and
that's-
spotlight you. I'm sorry, Wendy. All
That's okay.
right. Oh,
I don't need to be spotlighted.
you should be. Let's see. Oh,
I
dear.
did it, buddy.
Thank you. Be nice to have them both. It was nice to see Charles and Dee. All right. Okay, great. Here we
Right?
go. Yeah.
Okay. Now I've told you that I love you. Will you open up my heart? Will you show me how to love you so we'll never part? When I'm lonely and I need you, will you wipe away my tears? Will you take me to your garden where we first did meet? When I saw you in the clouds, when I saw you in my dreams, I believed you were my master, who I'd loved for years. When I'm tired and I've grown weary, will you whisper in my ear that it's time to cross your threshold, so we're always near? Now I've told you that I love you. Will you open up my heart? Will you show me how to love you so we'll never heart. Jai Baba. Thank you.
Beautiful, Wendy. Really beautiful.
Thank you, Jai Baba.
I'm glad Baba put the idea in your mind. Anybody else? Well, this has just been a sweet, sweet time, Charles. Thank you so much. It's
Thank you, Betty, and thank you, Wendy, for that beautiful way to capture all our hearts and with your beautiful song. Really, really special. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Yeah.
I've saved all your chat messages, folks, and I'll send them to Charles.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Jai Bob, everyone.
Jai Baba.
Baba Charles. And thank you again, Charles. Really, you have brought the Lord himself to my heart. And I can feel from others to so many other hearts today. Thank you, Baba, for this glorious sharing of your love.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to them.
I wonder if we could just say the beloved God prayer.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. Beloved God, Lord God, help
Help
us
us
all
to love you
more
more and more,
more
more
Yes.
and more, and
and
slowly
really more.
until we become worthy of union with you. And help us all to hold fast to Baba's Dhamma to the very end.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Hey,
Avatar Meher
Ava-
Baba Ki Jai.
Yay.
Thank you. Happy Easter. Oh,
Happy Easter.
icing on the cake. Lovely.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Diane, Terry. Much love. Much love to all. How fortunate we are, huh?
Fortunate we are.
Oh, right. Have a lovely afternoon / evening. Artie tonight, as always, if you'd like to come. All right. Jai Baba. Jai Baba.